Hello, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. My name is Sarah Jane, and today we're going to be talking about something a little different. And I hope you guys will actually be willing to listen. Before we get into the podcast, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, or just want to drop me a message to let me know your opinion on whatever I talk about, you can drop me a message on my Instagram at rogue.radio, all lowercase. See you guys there. Hello, everyone. I am here with my husband, Terrence. Say hello.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about true Christianity and what's the difference between true Christianity and religious Christianity. So, from my own experience, I was part of this church for about 29 years of my life. And by the time I was 13, I realized that I was different from everybody else. And, I kind of grew up having a lot of friends in church and all of that. And then they kind of fizzled away once this, stuff started happening. But it didn't really get too bad until I got to 27 years old, where I honestly knew that I was very different from the status quo of church. So when I say there's a difference between religious and true, the reason why I say that is because there's a certain unspoken rule that you have to look a certain way, act a certain way, and talk a certain way in church. And that's something that I want to kind of differentiate with me and my husband talking about this issue. So what do you think?
I'm just listening to you right now. I'll come in when I'm ready.
Seriously? Fine. By the time I was about 27, I kind of realized that I didn't care for a lot of this unspoken rule. I started dressing differently. I was probably known as the goth girl that just sat in the back.
Like, Sarah, you have to wear a dress. It has to be a sundress.
No.
You can't wear your jeans with holes in them.
I know, right? But I did. I already told you guys about the story of when my parents hid me in their car because I wasn't wearing the right thing to church. And I felt like they were ashamed of me.
Blasphemous.
Blasphemous! You're not wearing a dress! How dare you! But this is how it was. Especially, in the early years of my life, my mom would dress me up as, a baby doll. Not a baby doll, but, she would dress me for church, every day. Up till I was, 11 years old, I want to say.
Well, your mom did say she had a baby doll named Sarah.
Yeah, that's where they got their name. That's how I was named. I'm a doll, I guess. No. But, I don't know. I feel like, personally for me, especially when I was around 27, 28 years old, I really did feel different. I didn't have a lot of friends at the time because of how different I was. And even those who were my friends, or I considered my friends, they didn't treat me well. I mean, besides you and a couple of other people, but what I'm trying to say is that church has kind of become this country club where all these Christians who are bougie.
It's a mentality.
It's a mentality.
It's a country club mentality.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset, and I think it's been instilled, especially down in the South, where church was a big event, wearing big hats and, dresses and suits and stuff. And my family's Southern, so they have that mentality of, you gotta look good, you gotta show off, and all of this crazy stuff. But if we look at the Bible, Jesus never really dressed up. They didn't really have any, dress up stuff back in his time.
Well, they did, but it wasn't... I mean, dressing up to them was their everyday life. Whatever they had to wear is what they wear. They didn't have anything,
right,
flashy like we do now.
Mm-hmm. So, I was thinking about it. Jesus was born of a poor family, wasn't he?
Well,
I mean, his father was a carpenter, and...
I won't say they were poor.
Okay.
They were probably middle class.
Middle class? Okay. But I was trying to tell them, earlier, because I'm re-recording this now, that Jesus... I mean, he wore robes and sandals, and he most likely had a beard because he was Jewish, and
most of the time, he probably didn't even wear sandals. He probably went barefoot.
Barefoot, yes.
For all you not so religious people out there, get that in your head.
Right.
And if you are religious, I just gave you something to shake your head on.
Because it's so strange, it's so funny to me that we can care so much about our appearance, but not the condition of our heart. I think God looks at the heart more than your clothes and the threads and all of that flashy stuff. I don't think God cares about the shiny things. I think God cares about what's inside of you and how your heart is. And a lot of those bougie Christians, okay, those country club Christians who have that mentality that I have to look better than, Susie Q in the next pew or something. Oh, they have that mentality, and it's funny because Jesus never had that. Jesus never had that mentality. But they're the same people that will look at you and judge you because you don't look the exact same as everybody else in that congregation. And I find that very, disturbing. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why a lot of Christians become atheists. Because I understand why some atheists are atheists. I'm not saying that all atheists have been once Christians. Some of them are just born into an atheist family. But for those who have, believed in God and understood and loved God, the impression that these people give is that God is the same way.
Well, listen, I'm going to speak for a minute. If you have two groups of people, if you have one person who's basically was in a atheist home, didn't speak about God, didn't pray, didn't even pray before their food, hasn't even read a Bible before, knows absolutely nothing about God, but is broken and is lost and is confused. But then you have the other side of the story. There's another person who's an atheist, but went to church, was forced to go to church since he was probably 5, and then once he turned 15, 16, he got tired of it, got depressed, stopped going. Then his parents just forced religion down his throat. So you have the one that had no God, that's atheist, and then you have the other side of an atheist that knows God and was just tired of how maybe his parents or how someone viewed God to him. So you have these two people. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I would rather be the atheist that didn't know God at all and got introduced to him. You could save a person easier like that. But let me tell you something. It's even more harder to save a person who's seen the church, who was raised in the church, who basically called out to God and maybe feels hurt or rejected. Because they're going to say, we've been down that road. We went to church. We did all those things. Mm-hmm. Why am I still broken? Why am I still lost? Mm-hmm. And the reality of it, if you're a person who turned away from God because the church was forced down you, or religious things were forced down you by your parents or by certain things, I think a lot of us see God through our parents' eyes, and that's sick. And none of us have ever experienced God for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Anytime we've always heard of God, it's always been by our mom or dad's voice, or our grandma's voice, or
within the
bloodline, or our families. But take a step back and say, like, if you were to reach out God by yourself, that's one thing. But having God shoved down your throat, that's not gonna help you or gonna get you to God any faster. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I have family members who decided not to be Christian, and then we have religion being constricted upon them as well. But that's just only going to push people further if you try to change them. I feel like whether they were once a Christian or they weren't ever a Christian, there's always one simple way to
Sorry, guys.
There's construction workers singing opera outside. No joke. I love it.
Anyways.
There's one. I love this. It's so great. I hope you guys could hear that. He's got a beautiful voice. I'm sorry. The one thing that helps people understand the nature of God is love. We're gonna take a break. And we'll come back after this message. You want to know how I make some really awesome podcasts? It's called Anchor. For one, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for free, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcasts with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And download your free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Who's going to join me? Come on, let's have some fun. As I was saying, when we were so beautifully interrupted by a round of opera. I love it. I was saying, the one thing that people need to learn about the nature of God is love. God is love, and Jesus operated in love. We have so many people in churches that condemn people who sin. And we have so many people turning away from people in churches like that. And what I mean is, like, oh, you smoke, that's a sin. Or you drink, that's a sin. Or, you're gay, that's a sin. And we're not supposed to come at them with this anger because you see sin. Now, I used to be like that, and I did not help anybody. I can tell you that. And it was probably just because I had family that had that sort of demeanor as well, and I just learned it from them. But the one thing that I can tell you now is that loving people despite who they choose to be or who they believe that they are or what they do or what they look like is much more effective than judging them right on the spot. Because we have to realize that people who sin are human too. We're human. Christians are human too. And sometimes we don't act like it. We act like we're high and mighty and everything like that. And it's not okay, especially when you want to win a soul. You don't just say, hey, sinner, what you're doing is wrong. You're going to hell. So choose God and then you'll be happy. No, I mean, someone would probably look at you like you're insane if you said that. But when you operate in love and when you show people love, people respond to that. People respond to love. People's spirits respond to love.
It sure ain't hate.
No.
We seen what happened. What happens with that looting?
Yep. Looting, killing, shooting,
and tearing crap up.
Yep. I've already talked about that before.
Okay.
Yeah, so hate destroys and love builds, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. Why'd you show me that? He just showed me an article about ginger. It's a spice thing. It's something that we eat sometimes to help our systems. But yeah, that's something that we all need to understand and remember, because I think a lot of Christians who believe that they're on fire for God and want to really jump out there on the streets and just, pray for people and win souls. It's not going to happen overnight all the time. Most of the time, it's a process. You cannot just... And you have to watch what you say as well. I'm a prime example of that. I have said so many things on my podcasts that probably most definitely is not Christian. Trust me, I'm a person. I'm doing my best to improve myself. But people need to realize, especially Christians, that we're all human and we all make mistakes. So when you see someone sinning, don't
throw the stone at them.
Don't cast the first stone. That's right. Because you don't know what their life is like. You don't know what they've been through in order for them to get to that place. Your responsibility as a Christian
is to love them.
Is to understand how they got there. And love them through their process. That's basically the main point of the whole podcast, is Christians need to understand to love people. God wants us to love Him and love people. I even heard that from a prophet a long time ago at my old church. Love God and love people. Now, God didn't say, love God or love me and love people except gay people. He didn't say that. God did not say, love me and people except for those who have tattoos. No. But we all sit in the same congregation looking like the same sort of Christian robots. And when someone different comes in, we don't show them love. That's something that we need to learn and understand. Not everybody, not every Christian is going to look and talk and process things in their mind just like everybody else. It even says in the Bible that, one may be the hand and one may be the eyes, the feet, and the head in the church. It is not about how alike you guys are to each other. It's about how different you are and how you can serve God differently and celebrate those differences. Anything? Okay. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't judge. There's so many people out there that are hurting and their life is in a train wreck and they're broken. And for someone, no matter where they are in their walk of life, and they actually walk through the doors of a church, the last thing that they need is judgy eyes from you. They need love. Especially in this time where there's so much racial anger and hate towards each other, and so much political drama, and even, COVID going around, and everyone's pointing fingers like, oh, it's the white's fault and the black's fault, or whatever. People need to understand that we're all human. No matter who we are, we all need to love each other. Because love, though it is a silent thing that overcomes bad things, it works. You have anything to add, baby? Okay. All right, I think we are finished. Thank you all for listening. I also want to shout out to Finland. Thank you so much for listening. Even if it was a small bit, I just want to thank you and welcome to the Rogue Renegade family. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye.